Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars. In today's video, I wanted to do a follow-up to several videos that I made recently where I was reviewing tools that I purchased off AliExpress. Now, as you know, a lot of the tools that are sold on AliExpress are knockoff tools made in China. And oftentimes you can purchase these tools at prices that are considerably lower than the actual tool that is made and marketed and sold in either the United States or countries outside of China. And I wanted to do a review to see how these tools compare. And in many cases I found that they were inferior to the counterparts made here in the United States or in other countries like in Europe. But what I also found was that there were a couple of tools that actually worked very well. But that's kind of beside the point. What I want to talk about in this video is how the prices of these products coming from China is in the process of changing. And what I discovered was the prices have actually gone up. And I think this all has to do with this trade war, tariff, suspension of the Dimminimous Rule. I'll get to all that in a minute here. But what I noticed was most of these tools I had purchased back in late December of last year, 2024, and early January of this year, 2025. And at the time, I didn't really give much thought to the pricing. I just knew that they were a lot cheaper than their domestic or European-made counterparts. So I just kind of figured that that was just something we all would take for granted, that the products coming from China are going to be a lot cheaper. But then this trade war happened. And I thought it would be interesting to kind of track the pricing for some of the tools that I purchased. And I purchased a fret leveling beam, some fret nut files, one of these nut scribing tools, their knockoff of the fractal fret press, a couple of different fret crowning tools, and a knockoff of the StewMac fret kisser. And I also had a fret beveling file. So when I started to compare the prices, and I did this last week, so it is now mid-May as I prepare this video. So it was the early part of May that I checked the pricing. And here's what I discovered. The fret leveling beam that I purchased, I paid, when I purchased this in late December, early January, I paid $21.17. Now this is all in US dollars, so if you're trying to figure out what that means for your currency, you'll have to do a conversion. But when I checked the prices last week, it had jumped to $34.42. So it went from $21 to $34. That's a pretty significant jump in price. The next tool is this nut scribing tool that I purchased. And when I bought it, I paid $29.08. Again, this is in late December, early January. It is now $35.47. So a little bit more than a $6 increase in the price. The next item is this fret crowning tool. This is the Baroque fret crowning tool that I purchased on AliExpress. And when I bought it in late December, early January, I paid $20.24. Last week I checked the price, $36.12. So obviously a very significant increase that's a $16 increase in price. Okay, the next I have this fret beveling tool that I purchased. Again, in late December, early January, I paid $18.59. And then when I checked the price last week, it had jumped to $25.37. So roughly a $7 increase in price. Obviously, one would assume that this has to do with the 145% tariffs, I believe, that the US government started to impose on Chinese imports. or Chinese exports, what we import into this country. I don't know that for sure because I don't know the specifics of how that tariff structure was implemented. I know that it can vary depending on what's being brought in and what's being how those specific percentages are applied to specific types of goods. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this video, I would encourage you to click the thumbs up button down below. Do it right now. It's a great way to show my channel support, and it doesn't cost you anything. But if you'd like to take your support to the next level, you can visit my eGuitar Plans web store or my Highland Guitars merch store. There's links in the description below. And any purchase you make there is going to help support this channel so that I can keep making guitar building videos and sharing my knowledge and experience with you. You can also click the thanks button down below and leave a tip in the amount that you think is fair. But if you want to get the most out of my channel, I would encourage you to click the join button down below and consider becoming a member. As a member, you're going to have access to videos just like the one you're watching, but with a lot more information and detail, and best of all, no ads. Now let's get back to the video. Now, the question I had was, was the tariffs solely responsible for this increase in price? Or is there more to the story? Well, there is one other facet to this whole trade war that isn't getting that much discussion, and it's one that I think bears us trying to understand, and that is the suspension of the de minimis rule. What the de minimis rule is, it's essentially kind of a loophole for tariffs. And every country, or just about every country in the world, has some kind of a de minimis rule. And what a de minimis rule is, it sets the price where products that are imported are subject to import taxes. And for many, many years here in the United States, the de minimis rule was any product over, at or above $200 would be subject to import taxes. But then when Obama was president, he increased that limit to $800. So any product being imported into the United States that is priced at or below $800 would not be subject to import taxes. But then as the current U.S. administration was preparing to raise tariffs globally, they decided to close that loophole, and they just simply did away with the de minimis rule. And what that means, and you can find this on the White House website, all relevant postal items containing goods that are sent through the International Postal Network that are valued at or under $800 and that would otherwise qualify for the de minimis exemption are subject to a duty rate of either 30% of their value or $25 per item, increasing to $50 per item after June 1st, 2025. This, I think, has more of an impact on the price of our tools than tariffs themselves. It also means that an entire business structure is facing the potential of collapse. And I'm talking about businesses like Temu, Shein, AliExpress, Banggood, TomTop, even Amazon, which has recently they recently launched their Amazon Haul version of these low-cost import websites. You can go on to Amazon, their website, and you can find Amazon Haul. And then from there, you can see all kinds of inexpensive imported items at very, very cheap prices. Well, this elimination of the de minimis rule will put an end to all of that, because that's why these businesses came into being in the first place. So I think what we're going to see is the prices of our tools are going to remain high. I've noticed they're going up, and they've been raised. But as I discovered right before I was about to start filming this video, there has been an agreement between the United States and China and they are going to reduce the tariffs that were imposed, both sides. They're going to lower their tariffs. I know that the U.S. is going to lower theirs to 30%. That's down from 145%. So that's a significant reduction. However, it's only temporary. It's for 90 days. What happens beyond that is anybody's guess. I have a feeling it's all contingent on what sort of trade agreements that they can ink and sign off on. So we'll just have to wait and see, will those tariffs be reinstated? But I know that a lot of tariffs still remain in place for other countries and that they're working on all sorts of trade deals with other countries. But what I also know is trade deals can take a long, long time to finalize. It can take years to do this. Now, what happened was the initial tariffs were suspended for 90 days. Well, that 90 days is up on July 31st, so it's coming up here pretty quick. And once that expires, it's very possible we're going to see some of these prices go back up again or go up even higher. And not just for tools. This is also about the materials that we use to build guitars. So the woods that are imported from foreign countries like South America, Africa, all of that could go up as a result of the reinstatement of those tariffs. Should a lot of these other countries that are in negotiations with the United States fail to achieve a trade deal beneficial to the United States. So right now, it's very murky waters that we are standing in. And it's very difficult to say where this is all going to end up. But I think it's safe to say that the prices have increased. They're going to stay there. And there's a possibility they could go up even higher. I've been walking this planet now for 62 years, and there's one thing that I have noticed is that when prices go up, they never go down. The only way prices can go down is if you have a severe recession or a depression. And you can see that. You can see that historically, that inflation only goes negative when the economy completely craters. So we don't want that to happen, because if that happens, yeah, prices will come down, but nobody's buying anything. So if you're building and selling guitars, nobody's going to be buying your product. So we want to keep the economy strong, and we want to keep inflation, right around 2%, and not higher, but not lower. If we keep it at 2%, that's enough to where our tools and the materials and the parts that we use to build guitars will remain affordable, and people will be able to afford the guitars that we build for them. So I hope you found this video to be interesting and informative. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. But remember, this is not intended to be a political video. I am not picking sides in this issue. I want fair trade like anybody else. I would love to see more manufacturing here in the United States. I would love to see everybody getting a good deal, especially the consumer. And I don't care how it's done, as long as it's done in a way that is sustainable and isn't going to cause any sort of long-term harm or harm in the distant future. So at any rate, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. That always helps the channel. And of course, as always, like I mentioned before, there's all sorts of different ways that you can help support my channel, and I would appreciate it if you would consider any one of those possible options, because making these videos takes time, costs money, and to purchase these tools so that I can review them costs money. So any help that you can offer will be greatly appreciated. We'll keep this channel going, and that way we can all learn all kinds of tips and tricks and techniques for making guitars. So until the next episode, as always, take care, stay safe, and I hope you'll be back for more guitar building videos.